Hello everyone, welcome to part 3. So we are going to actually talk about aligning web page content. One way to align the content is to use the text align property, which can apply to the block elements. We use the text align property to set the horizontal alignment for the line of the text in an element. The text align property can use some values such as left, center, right, or justify. We can use the justify value to align the text on the left and right margin by adding the white space to the line of the text. We can use the center value to center the content with an element. For instance, we can use in the H1 element, we can use the text alignment into center. To center all the elements, so that the web page appears centered within a browser window, we can create a style to set the left and right margin to auto. We can also set the width property to a percentage to specify how much of the web page we want to use for the content. For instance, if we use the width to 80%, it leaves us 20% of the page for the margin. Then we can use auto as the property value, means that the left and the right margin can be split. They can split those 20%, which each will have 10%. So 10% of the page for the left margin and 10% for the right margin. So that's how you can do that. Now let's look at creating a style rule for a structural element. So the header section appears at the top of the web page and needs formatting that makes the header content stand out and attract visitors to the page. The nav section should be formatted differently from other structural elements, as it should be prominent and also easy to find on the web page. The main section should be also formatted using the display property. There are some browsers such as Internet Explorer, some versions through 9 to 11. It can treat the main element as an inline element rather than a block element. To apply text and box model properties to the main section and have it appear as you intend in the Internet Explorer, we use the display property, which determines how the browser displays an element. So including the display property with the value of block in the declaration list of the main selector means that all browser will display the main section as a block element. And we can create a style rule that formats the footer section as well by defining the font size, text alignment, and then also top margin of the footer element. Now let's see how to create a style rule for the header element, which is located at the top of the HTML page, and it contains if you go to the Forward Fitness Center, it actually contains the logo. So in here, we are at the header. We are looking at the header element. So the header selector here, we can actually create open bracket. If you want to separate the header from the rest of the web page, we add some declaration to apply top, bottom margin, and a background color. To create a more distinctive design for the header element, we apply a rounded border and a shadow. And also, if we want to improve the appearance of the logo within the header, we can use the text align property to center the header element's content. So this is some of the things that we apply here. We put the margin for the top, margin at the bottom, the background color, also the border radius, rounded border with radius of 10 pixel, the shadow with the horizontal and vertical position, size, and the color, and also aligning the text to the center. So you can apply these to the to your site and see how it works. So you're actually adding these lines after the header tag. So if you go to page 178, on figure 420, you can see your results. So some of the things that you should be able to see, that the logo is center, you are looking at the top margin and the bottom margin, same distance that you have defined. Both of them are 10 pixels. And then the corners are actually round. And also, what other thing you did? The header background. If you look at it, it should be white. The header background, that logo, it should be actually white, the background color of it. The next thing that we are going to talk about is also creating a style rule for the nav element. So if you look at your web page, the nav area is located below the header on the web page, and it has the content, some of the link to all the pages in the website. As with the header style rule, the one for the nav element would include the nav as the selector, and also you can put declaration to format the element's content of it. First, you can add the declaration to format the text, including font, family, size, maybe width, and text alignment properties and values. So in here, again, we have a nav selector, opening bracket, and then we have the font family, the size, the width, and then the alignment, which we put to the center. So you might wonder, why do you need to include 3 values for the font family properties? If the browser can't find the first one, it will use the next specific font. If the browser can display the second one, it will use the serif font that's installed on the computer's user. So you can again apply these, and then if you go on page 162, figure 423, you should be able to see the style that you have applied to the navigation. So you have the formatted text, you have the top header, the top margin, and then again you can see some of the things that you have applied to the nav. Also, you can create a style for the main element. The main area is located below the nav element. So if you go to your web page, you can see the main area, as we discussed before, is below the nav element and contains the primary content of your web page. The first declaration is basically to add the style rule for the main element that says the display property to block. Why is that? At Internet Explorer 9 to 11 treats the semantic HTML5 main element as an inline element, again not as a block. So it's important that we manually display it as block, because some of the browser, they might not see that. So using the display property with the value of block, make sure that the main element will be displayed consistently as a block. Again, because some of the versions of Internet Explorer may not see that as a block. And then next you add the text and box model properties to specify the font family, again the font size, the padding, margin, and also rounded borders. So you can apply that as in your tutorials if you are following your book on page 162. And also we can create a style rule for the footer element. The footer is located at the bottom of your web page, below the main area, and it also, as we mentioned, it can contain copyright information, an email address, and so on. So you add text and box model properties to specify the font size, again text alignment, the top margin of this element to it. So these are some of the things that you can apply for the footer element. So this is it for this section. In the next section, we are going to talk about the style rule for the classes. Okay, see you in the next part.